I do know if there's advisors listening, it's like, hey, here's how you crack the code to get a estate planning attorney referrals. They'll listen. So we're gonna spend a little time on this. So from my experience, here's what I've seen, and then please correct me if you see it differently. So back to when you were an estate planning attorney, and that was your sole source of revenue was the attorney side of it. You had 24 different marketing funnels, which consisted of 24 different financial advisors that were sending you basically a one-way street of referrals. And you were really upfront. You're like, don't expect it coming back, but your value proposition is I'll do great legal work and I'll find some more assets where it's a win-win on both sides, right? So that makes complete sense to me. Would it be fair to say one of the reasons that you didn't send referrals the other way is because you didn't want to upset the 23 other guys, so you didn't want to bite the hand that feeds you, for lack of a
Exactly
better
right.
term?
Yep.
Okay. Um, and then what's interesting though is being the unicorn in estate planning attorney world, which is an estate planning attorney that actually markets on their own, not bolted on to some other financial services firm.
Sure.
From my experience, you actually were driving revenue through your own means. And like if I look at our friends SHP up in Boston, they found one of those guys that was actively just, cranking and growing his business very aggressively. And he was doing his own marketing. And what he was missing is, hey, I don't have a great financial advisor firm that builds holistic plans, that actually does great financial planning, not just selling a product or, capturing some AUM and moving on to the next one. And so that actually worked pretty well because with him, he was running his own revenue. So he didn't have to worry about, oh, I'm going to upset these 10 or 20 other advisors that I'm also getting referrals from. So
Sure.
back to you in estate planning attorney world, what would it have had to look like at the time if a financial advisor knocked on your door before you were one yourself, where it would have made sense to say, you know what, this might be the guy that I actually send referrals to?
I think it would have taken two things. It's a good question because I don't think I've ever been asked that or thought about it that way. And two things might have worked. And I will preface this by saying anything here that even smells of like, well, go talk to compliance, because there are layers to this. But one of
Mm-hmm.
them is there wasn't a single person that ever offered to cut me in at
Mm.
all. And I know that exists. In other words, in the BD world, you can give somebody up to a 20% solicitation fee without them being licensed and then have that agreement. If they are licensed, you can have a different split. In the insurance world, we can write things and then be able to split the commissions that way. But nobody ever offered that to me. So when I was looking at that situation, it was only the revenue that came from the referrals for legal work. There wasn't anything attached to it. So if I had somebody that said, well, listen, I'm going to cut you in, and here's a little bit extra, I would have been able to look at that and say, well, shoot, if I lose 23 others, but keep this one, turns out that I'll probably still be okay. And I like them. They're not a jerk. Why don't we
Mm-hmm.
do this? So there's that one layer off of it. The second layer is that they would have to have a volume where their new prospecting didn't depend on having other people like me. Because the flip side is true. As much as I was there having 23 other relationships, financial advisors, especially the new ones at the wirehouses, are taught to call on a guy like me and establish a relationship and make it be the only relationship that I would have with an advisor, yet they're out in infidelity world having 12 or 15 of those because that's their method for prospecting. So the other component would say, but you've got it. We've got this one-on-one relationship. I'm in, but you can't then be relying entirely on me for everything. Like you're out marketing yourself, aren't you? You're doing other things, right? Because that would have led me to have some confidence that they're going to be bringing in something that the cut that they're going to bring me in on, the split, whatever that would have been something that they could sustain and not just do a one time with their existing client base and then never come back to it again. And I saw some of that. I mean, think, Brad, if 24 were active, let's say that, and I'm making up a number because I certainly don't remember, but let's say that 15 or 18 of them had gone through 80 or 90% of their clients already with me. And so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like they were constantly finding new ones because most of them didn't prospect well. Most of them didn't establish new relationships or grow their business or think about their financial advisory business as a business. They thought about it as a way to make a living and a quite a lucrative one, but they had to follow whatever the system was, either through the broker dealer or whoever was giving them advice about how to grow. But whatever that looked like, it was like churning through their existing client base, and they weren't thinking about growing or scaling. They never had that in their mind. And so it would have been difficult for me to agree with that. So for anyone that's listening off of it, if you want an exclusive relationship with somebody that can help you grow, like doing that, you either have to follow one of two paths or both of them. One is you got to figure out a way to keep them incentivized for you to be the exclusive place where that stuff goes. And then you also have to not rely on that or other people like them to be the only source of where you get that avenue of revenue. And I've seen that a little bit in my own practice because I think the Rosetta Stone between them are CPAs. And as well as I have marketed with financial advisors back when I wasn't one, or retail and building my business sort of meeting new people, I don't have a big bullpen of CPAs that I work with, probably a handful. And that's the relationship with them. I don't cut them in because most of them are not interested in that, but it's very exclusive that they're out prospecting other ways. But the CPAs that I work with are sending me clients all the time, sometimes because I am doing both parts of the work, the legal and the financial, and sometimes just because I do one better than the people that they know. But that's not a big bullpen for me any longer. And I don't rely on that to grow my business. I want good service from them, and I get their best referrals when they come in. And similarly, they're not relying on me off of it. We have a pretty good, decent relationship, but it's a handful of people. So I almost developed it like in contradiction to what was working with me with the CPA side and the accountants that I have a relationship with.